All right. It looks like we have hello YouTube. Looks like we have you guys on the live feed. You guys got that upper shot. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes here. All right. We got YouTube live, Facebook live. All right. All right. It looks like for the very first time, we are on time. We are going to wait probably a minute or two, get a few more streamers in here. But just stay tuned. Please make a comment if we have like an audio issue or any issues with the lights here. Go ahead and comment. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes here, just waiting for a few more streamers to come online here. It's a cold one. Ooh, 4:28. We got 2 more minutes here. How's it going, YouTube? Hopefully you guys can hear us. Hopefully the audio is good up there. Got 4:29 here, about 1 more minute, and we're gonna start front and center for you guys. All right, welcome back, Russell Club fans, to Front and Center. This is episode number 9. I am your host. I am the Lost Soul Garibai, and today is going to be a fantastic episode for the fans out there and for all the wrestlers out there for themselves too. In case you guys did not see our last event, a lot of things went down in our last event at the Stampede Series. I was able to retain my heavyweight championship up against the outlaw Rusty Livings. If you have not seen the event, sorry, I got to drop some spoilers on you. But yeah, we were live this weekend for the Stampede Series. Really great matchup, back and forth. I would say that's probably one of my top matches for the year for sure, especially during this pandemic. And then we saw, I believe, James Grimm winning by disqualification as he took on Big John Henry. It seemed to me that Big John did not want to let go of that hold, and Matt had to call the match. Big John Henry did not let go on that 5 count. James Grimm was looking for that rope break, but it never happened, and unfortunately Big John, it cost him the match. Your winner by disqualification for that one is James Grimm. We saw the rookie Mega Mosca was unable to be victorious against the veteran Brad Zane. Really good matchup. See a lot of potential in Mega Mosca. He does have a whole lot to learn, but the potential and the dedication is there. Make no mistake about that. And then our next matchup that we saw was a very big surprise match. I didn't see that one coming whatsoever. We saw Jay Cruz make an issue statement on Marcus King Anderson, calling him pretty much the queen of Russell Club ever since we came back into business. Unfortunately, King Marcus Anderson was unable to beat Jay Cruz in that semi-main event. And in our main event itself, we try to keep tradition here in Idaho at Russell Club, and we had the tradition of the Survivor Series 4-on-4 man elimination. One of the teams there was Punketo, Ultima Acción Punketo, teamed up with Mega Mosca, James Grimm, led by King Marcus Anderson, and they took on the other four men led by Jay Cruz, Brad Zane, Big John Henry, and for that matchup, and then the last man for that match was Dr. Steve, as he made a statement earlier saying that he's the GM and basically Dr. Steve can do whatever he wants to do, and he put himself in that main event. Victorious for that one, the last man to stand on that one was King Marcus Anderson and Big John Henry. King Marcus Anderson came up on top. He reversed the crop duster on Big John Henry. Marcus King Anderson hitting that future shock DDT, bringing home the W for Russell Club in that main event at Stampede Series. Now the next question is, when is going to be our next event for Russell Club for 2020? So far, we have not made an announcement for another event for this year. We are trying hard to come up with a date. As all of you Idahoans know, this past weekend we got our first day of snow. So the snow might play an issue as far as the next event goes. Usually we have the Idaho Potato Drop. We're not sure if that venue is going to be happening or if that event's going to be happening whatsoever. It's kind of been a day-by-day process. Hopefully, if it does or if it doesn't happen, I think all the wrestlers still want to come out and wrestle for New Year's Eve, December 31st. But a lot of question marks for the ending of 2020. Of course, we're going to be back next year, but we have not have a date set in schedule just yet, but we are going to be wrestling again for 2020, probably sometime soon. There's been a discussion that Dr. Steve says it's kind of an open door policy, if you will. So if any wrestlers want to take the challenge, they can issue any challenge. And Dr. Steve is willing to stream, even if it's one match, maybe if it's a one-off. Dr. Steve has let it be known that it's an open door from here on out, and it seems like it's the Wild Wild West all over again. But that's kind of the updates for Wrestle Club. We might have another show with production coming in. We haven't finished the final details, and we might have possibly some on-the-line classes that we have to have further discussion. But if it does happen, then that would be some more streaming for Wrestle Club as a whole, just some more content for you guys to check out. We're just trying to be as interactive as we can be during these pandemic and during these times. But we have adjusted. Wrestle Club has adjusted. We are doing well. We obviously have the home here, regardless of, if we go back to stage 2 or stage 1 or whatever. Regardless, we do have a place here in Idaho, and Wrestle Club is here to stay no matter what pandemic or whatever, anything that comes at us. We are here to stand tall no matter what. Before I introduce today's guest on episode number 9, I just want to check out the feed real quick. We love your guys' interaction. We've been reading your guys' Facebook comments, and then also comments on YouTube. And give me 1 second here. Big John Henry says the ref never told me to break the hole I was robbed. Come on, Big John, you got the senior official, Matt, man. I heard him from the locker room. I think he gave you more than the count of 5. And I think that was like the second time he told you to let go of James Grimm. Anna says, yep, he is a liar. Let's see. Those are just some of the comments there on Facebook. And at this time, I would like to introduce one of Russell Club's alumni, top stars in Idaho, and a top star on the East Coast. And many of you don't know his career as far as the East Coast goes. Idaho, it's well known here because obviously we're in the state of Idaho. But I want you guys to take today and learn more about his career on the East Coast, and we're going to go in depth into that. But nonetheless, here is Bryce Bennett, also known as Brokkr Balderson. Well, I gotta say, for the very first time, we are on time, and I guess it has to happen because you're here. You're here. And I believe the last time we saw you come through these ropes was at Resolution, right? This January.
Yep, that was it.
Well, this is an awesome privilege. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
If we have any comments, we're going to go ahead and read through the comments. Go ahead and we'll take a seat here and get right into it. Now, before starting, I just want everybody to know that it is cold in here. Like I'm talking, and like you can see how cold it is. Hopefully, production gets some heaters or something.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of used to the cold environment, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I would hope that this was more like home welcoming for you. But hopefully next time we have some heaters in here for you.
Right. No, I like it. I like the setup. It looks nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some changes. I mean, we've got some production stuff going on. Is this the first time you ever done like a live stream in your career?
Yeah, an actual face-to-face, yeah.
That's awesome. So still making history no matter where you go. So I kind of nailed it down. I did my best to study your career as far as Facebook goes, and there's just a lot of question marks that I think a lot of people from Idaho, even including myself, including the wrestlers, that most of your career we do not know. All we know is what we saw here in Idaho, and I think it would be awesome just to kind of elaborate on your career, mostly in Ohio, correct?
Yeah, mostly Ohio and a little bit in West Virginia, just over the border, kind of like an Ontario situation, but
okay.
But yeah.
So we got some questions here. Obviously, question number 1: what have you been doing ever since your retirement? Which I briefly mentioned. It was at Resolution. It was a career match against Tree City Giant James Grimm. Unfortunately, you lost that career match, and ever since then, you have been in retirement. And I would say if someone had to choose a time frame of retiring, you chose the best one, because right after that we had this pandemic and everybody was retired.
Right, yeah.
Everybody's retired for a few months, including myself. So how has that transition been for you?
Honestly, it hasn't really been that big of a transition yet because of the pandemic. Like it's like you said, everybody was just done. It was like, we had that match and I thought I was done, and then 2 weeks later or something, it was just like, no, the whole country's on lockdown and nobody's gonna go anywhere or do anything.
Yeah, I mean, literally right after that match, it was February 1st, if I recall. yeah, that's kind of when everything locked down, and I mean, stuff barely reopened like last month, you know?
Yeah. So it's been okay though. I mean, I've been working through the pandemic. I'm security at the hospital, so it affected us pretty majorly. It was really rough going at first, and now that we have a bunch of policies in place of exactly what to do, but the worst part was in the beginning nobody had any idea really what to do. So it took us a while to figure that stuff out, but just been working and pursuing some hobbies. And
so I think one of the hobbies that you picked up, prove me wrong, was one of them, was it like metal detecting?
Yeah, I picked up metal detecting and kind of going back to blacksmithing also, and
because I think recently didn't you like make a was it a coin that you made, or like you posted? I know you posted a video. And you were working on something, or
so I'm working on a medallion right now. It's a Damascus steel medallion. I think it's like 120 layers, and it's nickel steel and then high carbon steel, but it's a cut-off piece of a knife that bladesmith friend of mine made, and making it as a groomsman present for somebody.
That's one awesome present. So when you do this work, do you go into a shop, or you have it kind of set up in your yard, or?
Yeah, it's completely backyard setup. I have my forge and my anvil and a couple different kinds of grinders and a polishing setup, and that's about it.
The charm that you have, did you make that one, or did you buy that one?
Yeah, I made this one. I made the Mjolnir pendant and the hammer that I used to bring out with me. Also, I did a lot of heavy modification on it anyway. Started as a sledge, but
I saw that like a pre-production of it, and like what you made out of it was like, holy, like that is legit. Like, I mean, that's really legit.
Thank you.
As far as the metal detecting, are you involved in any like sort of groups, or do you go solo metal detecting?
I mainly go solo. I've been trying to get some groups together, but nothing big yet. Like, I've had people come out and actually come with me, like one person maybe, but I'd like to try group hunting, but it just hasn't happened yet.
I think maybe part of that probably has to do with the pandemic going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have a favorite spot as far as like where you go metal detecting, or are you kind of just like pick and choose, or?
Well, metal detectors don't really like to give away their spots.
Exactly. All right, I won't spoil those spots for you. I wouldn't want to give them up.
Right.
But I mean, that totally relates to professional wrestling. All right, question number 2. This kind of relates to a past Facebook comment. I want to say maybe 6 years ago. And what did you mean by might get back into the shuffle, raise my glass, and say skaw?
Right, so it was kind of a throwback to a couple of different personas that I've had in wrestling, and when I first moved here, it was probably a year or so before Wrestle Club had started, and I didn't know that there was no wrestling here, so it was kind of I had made up my mind that I was going to pursue wrestling again after we moved, but then just kind of had to wait for the time to be right. So
yeah, I mean, going back to that comment was from June 27th of 2012. So yeah, Wrestle Club was not even a thought. Wrestle Club got formed in 2014. So So then, did you just kind of have to wait until, like, you know, if it popped up, or because like, you had that itch, right?
Yeah, I could have gone to Utah possibly, but I didn't know anybody at the time. I didn't have any connections out here, and I'd actually kind of given up on finding anything, and my wife saw one of the Facebook posts in like a like community outreach page or something.
Oh man, we should start doing that again. Dr. Steve, you need to start doing that on Facebook, man. Well, I'm glad that you did find a wrestle club, and I think you were the one that kind of coined Idaho to be the black hole of wrestling. I heard that from you first, and then I just kind of stuck because it made so much sense.
Yeah, it's I mean I've even like cross-referenced like the old territory maps, and it really looks like, except for like a random show here or there that was just like a WWE one-off show or something, or a WCW. I think WCW ran the Nampa Civic Center once.
Yeah, it was like one time that barn match or whatever.
It was the barn match,
yeah.
And then Rodman came out, and but other than like a one-off match, like there has never been an organization that just ran in Idaho.
Yeah, once you drop that term, I was like, man, it makes total sense. Like this is like the black hole of professional wrestling here in Idaho. So question number 3 kind of leads. This is kind of leads to your work on the East Coast. Who is Jack Diamond?
So that was my first professional persona. I was fresh out of wrestling school. Actually, when I came up with the gimmick, persona. When I came up with the persona, I hadn't even started wrestling school yet, actually, and it was just I had already had in my mind that it's what I wanted to do, and so I just started developing like who I wanted to be, and my favorite wrestler in my teenage years was always Ric Flair, so I kind of wanted to harken back to him and like try and bring in a little bit of Vegas. So
for Jack Diamond, kind of like a Ric Flair mixed with like DDP-ish, or
kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jack Diamond, did you pick up the moniker Wild Card like after, or was that already in there?
It was already in there. So when I wrestled in high school, doing collegiate wrestling, you spend a lot of time in the locker room, and there's just nothing to do, because after weigh-ins, you just, it's either go eat at the food table, and potentially blow your weight and be slowed down on the mat, or play cards. And so we played a game called Euchre, and it's just really quickly, like there's 2 high cards, and it's always the 2 jacks, whether it's the 2 black jacks or the 2 red jacks. So that was kind of, I just wanted to harken back to that Euchre reference, so Wild Card Jack Diamond.
And that was, I want to say that you were Jack Diamond between the age of 18 to 20?
18 to 20, and then again later in OCW, right before I introduced Bryce Bennett there.
So if you were Jack Diamond at the age of 18 and you retired earlier this year in February, how many years have you been in the business?
Well, if you go from first actual like paid professional match, probably like 17-ish years, but if you go from like first bump, 20.
Yeah, because I mean you started at 18, like straight out of high school.
Yep. Yeah, I was in a company that was you know, when I graduated high school, like backyard feds were like all the big new thing in wrestling, and a group of friends and I were in like a backyard fed, and basically like we all actually studied the business though, and it wasn't just like bust each other with light poles and you know, stuff like that. It was like we studied the business and wanted to make an actual run of it, and I think at least 75% of those guys all went and got trained. So
that's awesome, man. I mean, to know what you want to do like straight out of high school, that's so rare.
Yeah.
You know, most guys don't pursue it until later on, or they just don't pursue it because it's just too late. So that leads to my next question. So we know who a little about Jack Diamond. So who is Caution?
Right. So when I first started professionally, right out of school, I wrestled for a company called All Pro Wrestling. It was a division of All Pro Wrestling that had reached Ohio.
Is that APW from California, and it was just another, or was it something?
I don't know if they were ever actually affiliated or not, honestly.
Because I mean, there's so much feds that have the same name.
Right.
So this is in Ohio, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we had a bunch of guys from all over the country that actually did travel in, like Dice Man, Ronnie Vegas came in, and the company was run by the late J.R. Hogg. He was one of the big competitors for the Moondogs in oh man, I'm losing the Fed now. AWA, I think, is where the Moondogs had started.
Was that American Wrestling Alliance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he had done that, and then he actually was the basis for WWE's Cousin Jr. In fact, at one point he was supposed to have been brought in with Cousin Jr. and Hillbilly Jim. He actually had trained Cousin Jr.
Oh wow!
And so he had like blown his knee out or something. So he introduced this guy that he'd been training, and he became Cousin Jr. and tagged with Hillbilly Jim and WWE.
So kind of took his running in a way.
Yeah. He promoted a company that was called APW and brought in talent from all over. But I trained with one of his nephews at the school that I went to, which was it's closed now, but it was Big Guns Pro Wrestling Academy. It was in Coshocton, Ohio.
Okay.
And Caution was the persona that they kind of branded me with there. I was
so it was given to you in a
it was an Owen Hart.
That's what I was about to say. So was this before Owen Hart or after?
It was after. Okay. It was a couple years after he had passed, and he was always one of my favorites, and I really enjoyed getting to pay homage to him a little.
That makes sense. A Caution, and that's when he was. I believe was that when he was in Nation Domination when he had the it's time for a change.
Yeah.
That was classic Owen too.
Yeah.
So when you were Caution, you ran that from what, when you were 22 to 27, or did that come back?
No, that it never really came back. It was mainly just for that company. They really and they were really, really old school. Like everybody just called me Caution, but like they made me be announced as like Eric Caution, because everybody's got to have a name. It can't just be like a one phrase. That's
like totally opposite from today,
right?
Where like not everybody just has just one name. That's it, just one. It's just so backwards at times. Question number 5. Now, over the years of any career, we go through many changes, our phases, our personas. A great example of this is everybody knows Stone Cold Steve Austin, but before he reached that point, he was studying Steve Austin. He was the Hollywood Blondes. He was Steve Williams. He was the Ringmaster, and then he became Stone Cold Steve Austin. With that said, did you ever find yourself, and I guess what I mean by that is like when you can like look in the mirror and then you're like, this is who I am, this is who I'm supposed to be, because it does not come easy, like whatsoever. Like Stone Cold is a great example, legend. It took him 15 years to find Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, so I have to say, I always thought that I would say that, you know, Bryce Bennett is the real me, but honestly, like I really feel Brokkr. I really do. Like I flirted with being him earlier in my career. They called me Magnus the Mighty, and I was, you know, same general, like I was a Viking, and
yeah, I mean you had like the headgear too with the horns, and then you had the bracers too.
Right, yeah. But you know, back then it was kind of like they'd come a really long way in research on Viking culture over the past like 20 years. And it was probably 10 years ago when I was Magnus, and I wasn't given a lot of liberty to evolve very much as a persona, because the company that I worked with didn't really have any idea of like real Viking culture, hence like the horned helmet and stuff, which absolutely like was never like that, never happened. like real Vikings never had horned helmets at all. But
kind of like a stereotype of deal.
Yeah. But you know, we worked with stereotypes a lot.
It's wrestling.
Right. It really is like it's just dramatic examples, and it always leads to that. But I like to think that as a business, though, we help people get over them by presenting them with it, you know?
Yeah, just having that room to evolve. I mean, whoever you plan to be. And I remember when you debuted Brokkr Balderson. It was at the Idaho Potato Drop. Right when I saw you, I was like, "Damn, that's Brokkr. That's him right there." You took on Eddie Vice and you beat the snot out of him. I just remember like you having him in that stretch, and then I don't know if it was before or prior to the match. You took some photos, and I saw them on Facebook, and I was like, "Dude, like you, like that's you, man."
Yeah, it is. I really enjoy doing you know, accents. Like I enjoy having personas that have special traits like that, and I always tried my best to represent Norwegian culture, or I did a persona once that was an Irish culture, and I always tried to represent all that as best I could.
So basically, you did your homework.
Yeah.
All right. Well, question number 6. 6 years ago, most people don't know this story. 6 years ago, it might have been more. I might have got my dates wrong. But at least 6 years ago, you had to stop wrestling due to a blood clot in your leg that broke off into your lung. How was that experience?
Really humbling. It was, yeah. I had a right femoral artery clot that spanned the whole length of my right femoral artery, and a piece did break off and went into my right lung, and when I went to the hospital, the doctor looked at me and he goes, "Well, it's great that you came in, because if you'd have waited another week, you wouldn't be here.
Oh wow! What did you like? What prompted you to go into the hospital? Like, was it pain and immeasurable?
So it was really, really intense, throbbing pain, and my entire leg had swollen and was red. You would think if blood's not flowing, it would turn white, but it was like beet red. And I never really even had any trouble breathing. Like when they told me it had went into my lung, I was kind of surprised, because I never had any issues breathing, just walking.
And was this injury wrestling related?
No, it was. If anything, it was more related to my day job at the time. I was already in security, but I was a guard. Whereas now I'm kind of more of an officer. I get to take more of a physical role in protecting the people that are in the hospital. But at the time, I was a station guard at Halliburton facility in Ohio, and so I basically just sat all day signing people in as they drove in, and it was just really lethargic and yeah.
When that injury did happen, did that force you to kind of like retire, or did that take time off of pro wrestling? Like, what happened because of that, as far as wrestling goes?
Yeah, so I was on a couple different blood thinners, and so they told me, like, point blank, you cannot wrestle until you're off of these blood thinners, because just any bruise that I could have had would have possibly caused internal bleeding and stuff, because I was on a pretty high dosage.
So how long were you on the shelf for that injury?
Well, it wound up being like 3.5 years, but it was only a year of it was actually being on the shelf. But then, as soon as I was off of the blood thinners, we moved here. So.
Oh, then it kind of just prolonged it a little bit more.
Yep.
All right. Next question. What are a few fond memories at Ohio Championship Wrestling?
Oh man.
I've seen some posts, so I was like, man, I'm curious. Like, what's your main memory there?
Honestly, and it's really weird to say, because it was one of the last times I was there, and I had been on a break from that company for a while, but they had me come in and like actually had me attack one of the guys there, and like I actually had to like pay for a ticket and go in and sit and then wait on intermission, and then when he came out to sign autographs for intermission, I attacked him, and it was one of the best moments I think in my career, because it was one of those like once in a lifetime, like there was that feeling of like there were guys in the locker room who didn't know that management has asked me to come in and do this so that I can come back, and like I got a lot of heat. like people thought it was a shoot.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, it's kind of like you have to, I guess, be there to have that experience. But yeah, that's awesome, though. Do you still keep in contact with some of your buddies from Ohio Championship Wrestling?
Oh yeah. Mainly over Facebook. I don't know. I'm horrible about like returning texts and stuff.
Yeah, well, I think nowadays it's kind of like, I mean, that's kind of what we're kind of down to, especially and even more so now with the pandemic. It's like, it's kind of hard to go to someone's house and keep them up to date and whatnot.
Yeah.
So following that, who are the Black Bloods?
The Black Bloods are two guys that I traveled with forever. So it's JoJo Little and JT Hogg, which is J.R. Hogg's nephew.
If he helped you change it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we all trained together at the wrestling academy, and then they were really the two who actually started kind of pulled me into their traveling schedule, and I got a lot of really good experience with them.
How often did you travel? Like once a month, twice a month?
No, every week. Every week, actually. For probably 5 or 6 years, we traveled the whole state. At least once a week. We had a show every Thursday in a suburb of Akron. It's called Barberton, for a company that was called Real Action Wrestling. I think they changed it now to where it's Real Action Pro Wrestling, but they actually still run.
Oh wow!
But that's where I got to work with Sammy Callahan and Shane Taylor and Big Tyrone that was in NXT. I forget what his persona was there. But he wore like the face mask that had the big T on it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about now. I mean, I think the other two are. I think they're in Impact. I want to say. Or one.
Yeah. So Sammy's in Impact, and Shane is. Where is Shane?
There's so many people to follow.
There's so many big companies right now too. It's kind of an amazing time in the business. I'm glad that I got to be in at this time for a little while, because it's really amazing seeing all the other feds like grow. And
yeah, it's been so crazy, because I remember like when I broke in, it was like kind of like dead. And then I want to say like within the past 3 years, the indies have just like boomed, and it kind of sucks because of COVID. Like wrestling as a whole was at its peak, and then COVID happened, and then now it's just kind of going downhill, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. Real Action Wrestling.
Real Action Wrestling. There you go. So what would you consider to be the pinnacle of your career?
Honestly, working here, because it, like we've said, it was a black hole, and now there is wrestling here, and it was an honor to be here at the end of my career and try to help give back to a business that's given me so much.
And you have been an original here at Wrestle Club. I believe you made your debut at Toy Drive, which was literally our third event ever. So I mean,
nice.
You've been part of Wrestle Club since its birth.
Right.
I still remember that. It was you made your debut at the Idaho Expanded Cultural Center.
Yep. And
it was against me. We had an awesome time. But yeah, and then now, how do you look back on it and see where you came in event number 3, and now we are on event, I believe, 106? So, how does it feel to be part of that, being an original and just helping building, not even the company, but a top vet here?
It feels great, honestly, and I try to watch as often as I can and see how much everybody's grown, and it's amazing. Like I'm really proud of all of you guys and ladies.
Well, we're definitely fortunate to have you here. You have so much experience. You brought so much to the table, and to feed off of your experience and helping us grow has really helped Wrestle Club since the beginning.
Thank you.
Next question, is there any advice for wrestlers who plan to hang them up, meaning that they are kind of almost on that last trail? Any advice for anybody that's kind of feeling like, hey, my body cannot do this anymore?
I guess, honestly, like I kind of went along and felt that way for quite a while. why I started losing weight and stuff. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just that I was too out of shape, and that's what was causing the pains and stuff. But if it's your passion, honestly, like, I would say don't quit unless your body tells you that it's time, and you definitely know when your body is finally like telling you, okay, look, you gotta stop this.
Yeah, because I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I think you told me that like you got on the keto diet because you knew that your body was hurting and you wanted to try something different and have that transition. So after you did the diet, was it just like, oh man, this diet, like, it didn't work with the pain, the pain of professional wrestling? Did it just did the pain just become unbearable? I mean,
so
you know how it is as a wrestler, we're always hurting.
Right, yeah. No, it did help quite a bit for quite a while, and but my main problem was my knees, and from playing football in high school and wrestling in high school, like they already kind of had issues already, and I'm surprised I was able to make it as long as I did.
Yeah, that's like 20 years, man. You got lucky.
But they were definitely letting me know it was time. I think when I did finally decide that it was time, it was I was having to like put like horse grade liniment oil on my knees after every show, and it was bad. But
your body will tell you when it's time.
Yep, for sure.
What was the main change or a main challenge wrestling here at Wrestle Club?
So probably the style differences. Where here we have guys that do catch as catch can and lucha. I was used to only doing catch as catch can, so it was a bit of an adjustment, like expecting stuff to come from all angles instead of just one route, and
And how long did it take, I guess, you to adjust or to that kind of style? Because I mean, I want to say every Fed does work a totally different way, especially if you travel a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, not very long, probably 3 or 4 months, and I felt like, oh, okay, I understand where we're going with it and stuff. Like, it was, it wasn't too long, but yeah. And now, actually, I kind of wish I had been trained in both styles from the beginning, because I actually kind of prefer working with luchadors.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, you can do all this other stuff, but I'm just going to ground and pound. All right, leading on to that, second to last question, what is your number one moment here at Wrestle Club?
Honestly, it's kind of a toss-up in, when I came out for the first time, and then right at the end, the match with Grimm, and how that all went, honestly, because coming back from something like the blood clot, where I was on the shelf for so long and then didn't have anywhere to go once I was healthy again. It was one of those, there was that brief second where I'm like, oh man, can I still do this, and then just hearing the crowd again and getting to climb in the ropes and wrestle again. And then kind of the same thing, like I've always kind of fed off of the audience, and that they're kind of the reason that I like wrestling. So it was kind of a toss up, because those were probably the two most meaningful moments for me with the fans.
I mean, and the fans, I mean, they give us so much energy. Like, people just don't know, like, the power of the fans and just, having them backing you up, having them kind of, like, feel what you're feeling inside the ring in a way. Do you prefer, now, I want to go back to a few more questions. For, the Black Bloods, were you part of a faction there? Or
yeah, the general idea was to kind of bring me into the faction. That they had a tag team, and they were kind of groundbreaking. Honestly, they were kind of the Wyatt clan before the Wyatt clan existed.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to the point, JT was kind of this country boy. I mean, obviously, with a name like JT Hogg, he was kind of a country boy, and JoJo, who's always been kind of the bad influence of the group, really did a number on him and kind of made him into like a monster almost. He came out in a pig mask, and it was. I'll never forget, like, the first time that he put the mask on and came out. There were little kids in the audience who were used to, like, seeing him normally, and he was like, their hero, right? And then he comes out in the mask, and there were legit little kids crying in the audience because they were afraid, and they knew it was him, but they were still afraid.
That must have been one heck of a mask then.
It was, yeah.
So did you get jumped out of the faction?
I did, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I saw a picture.
It was yeah, I know exactly which picture. Yeah, they as fast friends in the business do often, they decided that they wanted to go against me instead of working with me. So as far as your career goes, do you prefer wrestling singles, or do you prefer wrestling tags, or you kind of just doesn't matter where you throw yourself at, you're gonna work? So I actually really do like tag team work. I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite, but I started as a tag team wrestler. I actually jerked the curtain on the whole company in OCW in a tag match that was JoJo, who was my tag partner at the time, and we actually wrestled JT and his partner at the time. Man, I can't even think of the guy's name. Wow. 20 years. Yeah. But
no preference then, huh?
No, not really. Not really.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if I have any. I got one more last question here, but I'm trying to see if I can have any other ones that I can think of. So the last question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, and what's in store for the future of yourself?
I'm not really sure yet. We may be moving back to Ohio, but I have a couple things in the works with where I might possibly have a higher paying job here also. So we'll see. I may be back there. I may still be here, but if I'm still here, maybe help out backstage or something. So far as like a wrestling type thing, but other than that, just pursuing the hobbies and raising the kids and. Yeah.
Heck yeah! I mean, that's quite the future to have, and that's a future in itself, and that leads to more futures too. I mean, that would be awesome if you do stay. If you do, hopefully we'll be seeing more of you. That would be really great for the company itself, and great for the guys. So that do you have anything that you want to say, or like any social media outlets? Kind of like this is your time to even just whatever you want to address.
Yeah, sure. I recently have been trying to start a YouTube channel. Well, I have started a channel. I'm trying to kind of build it a little bit. That's based around the foraging and the metal detecting. It's Ronin Viking Treasure Hunter.
Awesome. I would say if you can after this episode, if you want to just comment that down or pass it along, and we'll make sure that the fans out there know your YouTube channel, of course.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other plugs? I might just jot down just some of the comments here, and then I think we might call it a wrap here.
All right.
Let's see. Jose Sala says, "Get the heat." Let's see. Anna says, 20 years. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Let me check out YouTube over here, see if we got any comments. All right, kind of looking like. See, someone said you look like Carl Anderson from the Bullet Club.
Nice.
I forgot what they're called now, but.
No, I've always been told I look like an Anderson, but usually I get Arn. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
Hey, if it's double A, it's a good thing. Well, this wraps it up for Front and Center, episode number 9. Again, thank you for coming along. It's been great to see you. It's been great to hear your story, especially the Ohio stuff. But yeah, it's been an awesome episode of Front and Center. Thank you, Bryce Bennett. Thank you, Brokkr Balderson. Hopefully, we will see you again.
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Alright, I'm gonna cut the live feed out here. Alright, take down YouTube. Oh man, it's so cold. Definitely gonna get a heater next time. Holy smokes. Thank you, SM Punk.